Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. Manchester United hosting Spurs in the Premier League. Joining me, as always, is Mr. Joe Smith. Joe, do you remember what we used to say? Lads, it's Spurs. Or lads, it's Tottenham.
Yeah.
We don't anymore, do we?
They say that now.
No, it feels like that's a long time ago where we used to just beat Spurs pretty much every time we played them, even when they went 3-0 up at home. Now we have this horrible record against them where I think we've not beaten them around almost 4 years, something stupid like that. We've lost our last 6 games in the league against them. We've lost 3 and drawn 3. We also lost 4 times against them last season, including the Europa League final. What's going on?
I don't know. I actually don't know what's going on. Obviously, there was something to do with the way we played under Ten Hag and then Amorim that didn't line up very well with the way they played under Ange Postecoglou, because I think we just lost all of them pretty much, or close to. There was, I think, one game, wasn't there, Ten Hag, before Ange got there, where we played really well against Tottenham. Like probably the best we played under Ten Hag was that 2-0 at home.
Yeah.
But basically, since Postecoglou got there, and then to a lesser extent, because it's only been one time, under Thomas Frank getting there, we've just not been able to beat him. And last season, like you said, was utterly bizarre. 4 games, 4 losses, 2 cups, knocked out as well. It wasn't, group stage or anything. I guess it can't be, but they beat us in the Europa League final. They knocked us out of the League Cup, and they beat us both times in the league. It's astonishing, really. So, yeah, we've got to do something about it, and I don't really get it. I don't think it should carry on now. We're 2 managers on, or at least 1 manager on in terms of Michael Carrick. They're a manager on as well, in Thomas Frank. We drew with them earlier in this season, and it's a game that we should have won. We were winning, we were in the lead, I don't want to say comfortable, but we were in the lead for a long time in that game. And then, obviously, ended up dropping 2 goals, getting one back, Delict last minute. But I do think that we are more well-suited to beat them now than we were, for whatever reason, when it was Ten Hag versus Postecoglou in particular. It was just horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, Ten Hag's record against him, Amorim's record against him was poor as well. I think you go back to that game earlier in the season, and that's one of the biggest differences, I think, between Amorim and Carrick, is that in that game, 1-0 up, I think some of the substitutions, I can't remember, it wasn't like we went for that second goal, was it? It was like we were sort of trying to defend that lead. And I think from what we've seen with Carrick in this team so far is we do keep on the front foot, and that is something that maybe Spurs don't like, and maybe what we should have done, not just under Amorim, but in the past as well, where I remember we were 2-0 up against them. I think it was under Ten Hag where we drew 2-2. Do you remember that horrendous run we had where we didn't beat any of the top 9 or whatever it was away from home, or we lost 2 of them all? Yeah. The only ones we drew with was Spurs, and that was a game we were 2-0 up in.
Yeah, and
2-0 up with 15 minutes ago. I think was it Sancho and Rashford scored. Yeah, absolutely in control of the game, and then we drew 2-2. And you're like,
where Fred came off the bench and had one of the worst cameos I've ever seen. I think overall I thought Fred was a half decent player, but he was utterly horrific in that. He came on like we were 10-0 up.
It was like
walking around.
I remember that. I forgot about that. I'm glad you
Non-stop.
reminded me. That was like watching. I won't even say you because you're decent footballer. It was like watching me playing for United for 15 minutes. Like, what are you doing?
Like, it's 2-0. Now it's 2-1. Speed up, and he just couldn't do it. So yeah, we've got a terrible run against him, and it defies logic really, and hopefully it won't go on much longer.
Everything about United and Spurs is weird, right?
Yeah.
Including what has gone on this season, because in many respects, United have kind of turned things around somewhat from last season. We finished 15th. We're now, I think, in 4th. Yeah. We've got a very strong possibility of getting into the Champions League. Like, I'm not saying we're there yet, even though it is difficult not to get carried away. But, we're doing really well. Yes, we've had to sack a manager along the way, and it's not all been sunshine and rainbows, and we've been knocked out of both cup competitions at the earliest opportunity we can do, including a game against League 2 opposition as well. So it's been horrendous. Yeah. But we are in the Champions League spots. Spurs, who finished 17th last season, they've done really well in the Champions League, but in the league are almost as bad as they were last season. I think they're 14th, and they're not that far away from the relegation.
3 points off of Forest. Yeah. So not the relegation there, but they're 17th. Who are
they're 2 weeks away from 2 bad weeks away from being in real trouble. Yeah. It is kind of odd, the sort of the turnaround that we've had and they've not really had.
And we've almost been wed with Tottenham for the last sort of 18 months to 2 years, haven't we? We've both been going through this cycle of managers that seemingly the board lost trust in and then wanted to leave, but kind of shouldn't have been sacked because they won trophies. Postecoglou and Ten Hag kind of had this sort of mirror thing going on. Yeah. They've now obviously both left. Then the new manager comes in. For us, it was Amrin before they got rid of Ange. And he's now gone. Now they've got another manager that seems to have lost faith with the fans and everyone in Thomas Frank. And like I said, they were both the sort of fallen sort of big teams, obviously United much bigger, but both, why are they bottom half teams? We're now no longer a bottom half team. They're still down there. Yeah. And it asks a lot of questions about what do United need to do next season if we do get Champions League football, in terms of making sure the squad can support a Premier League and a Champions League run. It also says, did Amrim, not necessarily by himself, but with the help of very good recruitment in the final third in particular, have we turned a bit more of a corner than we think we have? Because compared with someone like Tottenham, who could easily have done what we've done this season, but they haven't done what we've done this season. They've stayed where they were, where we were. I do think that we're two teams that seem to be on, like you said, weirdly sort of parallel tracks across a few different fronts. What United need to do, and hopefully will do and are doing, is push ahead and not be languishing back there and finishing another sort of bottom half league position, because it can happen. Like you said, they're looking good in the Champions League, and yet they are one of the worst teams in the Premier League again. It's bizarre.
I just feel that he's doomed, Thomas Frank.
Yeah,
I honestly, unless they do something mental like win the Champions League, I think he's doomed. The fans don't like him. They've not liked him since day one. They don't like the style of football. Day one's a bit harsh. He had some good results early doors, but they recently lost, I think, at home to West Ham.
Yeah.
Just as a Spurs fan, that's got to really just do your head in. He's had players ignoring him. He's telling him to go and acknowledge the fans, and they're not doing. They're shouting. He's obviously got there's a bit of a lack of respect there from certain members of his squad. Yeah. He just seems doomed to failure, and I think it's weird because I think Frank's had the Champions League to sort of fall back on and say, look, okay, the league's terrible, but I've got the Champions League, and I think they finished fourth in the table, which is very high up, obviously. And that's been his get out of jail free card. Amrim didn't have any cup competitions because obviously we weren't in the FA Cup yet, and we got knocked out of the Carabao, and we weren't in Europe, so it was just the league. And though the results weren't as bad as Spurs, it was other options, other things as well. He didn't have that safety net to go, well, look what I'm doing in Europe. Yeah. Maybe I can get away with some of these comments I'm making because we're doing really well in the Champions League. So it's just a weird sort of thing. And I wonder if Spurs are actually looking at what is happening under Michael Carrick at United and going, have we missed the trick here? Because you've had that turnaround, you've had that sort of just massive, 9 points out of 9, which has really helped us get into that fourth place and look quite good for it. Whereas they're still languishing. I don't know whether they're looking at it with maybe not green eyes, but can sort of second guessing themselves, thinking, should we have done that?
I think as well, you look at the recruitment in the summer, we both spent around the same amount. They spent 250 million as well, but they bought Kevin Danso, and they bought Matisse Tell, and they bought who else was it?
Xavi Simons one.
Yeah, Xavi Simons was another big one. Mohamed Kudus that they bought, and would you swap? Kudus can be a good player, and he looked electric at the start of the season. I think he's had some injuries, but you wouldn't really swap any of them for Sesko and Burmo or Cunha.
Do you know what the weird thing is about all those players? And I don't even know, not scratch me surface of how they've performed in the Champions League. Those players, they all seem like players who are on their day are capable of something decent, and that's a cup side.
Yeah,
that's a side like we were under Ten Hag in that last season, last full season, where you can turn up.
Yeah,
if those players are on it, then like Mohamed Kudus can be a very good player when he's on it, or he can be one of the worst players you've ever seen. It's so you can even say the same about the other names you mentioned there. They're very up and down, and some of the players they've already got who are there are a bit like that anyway. Before we get into anything else, we want you lot to get involved in the channel, and here's how you can do it.
Send your match prediction in to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. Just like this, on your phone, landscape, get it sent in 30 seconds or so, how you think the game's going to go, and the final scoreline as well. Send it to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. The email address is in the description.
Right, let's talk about predicted 11s. Joe, I'll let you go first.
Only one tweak
go on.
to last week. I think a lot of it picks itself. Lawrence, Dallin, Maguire, Martinez and Shaw, I think picks itself. Maybe we find a way to squeeze Mazraoui back in there, but I don't see where at the moment. I think, again, Mainu, Casemiro and Bruno picks themselves. I think it's just that front line. And I want to reward Sesko. He's not started a game yet under Carrick. I think he needs to at some point. I don't want him to be someone that just never plays under Carrick. So I think eventually it will come, and I think this is the game to do it. He doesn't like dropping Ahmad. He doesn't like dropping Mbeumo. So I've put Cunha on the bench, and I think he can be excellent off the bench as well. So yeah, Ahmad on the left and Mbeumo on the right, and starting Sesko up top because he needs a start. And what has he got? 3 goals in his last 3 appearances. Come on, give him something. What do you think? You've not started him, have you?
Well, I watched a great video with some lad called Joe Smith on it who made a great point about how good Cunha is and how it'd be absolutely insane to drop him.
Didn't say that last bit, but I do think he's great, yeah.
I agree with Joe Smith. As if you're going to drop Matthias Cunha. As if. No, you might not have said that, but you made a case about how good Cunha is.
I think he's a brilliant player.
Good he's been under Michael Carrick. So I understand Sesko's doing well. He scored a great goal, obviously the winner against Fulham, it did well, but Cunha did well against Fulham as well and scored against them, following on from a very good performance when he came off the bench at the Emirates, and another good performance when he came off the bench against City. So
not to try and pin you too much, when's Sesko going to start? Presumably you don't think he won't start between now and the end of the season. Do you think he's just waiting for injuries? Or
it might be injuries, it might be we see someone tail off a bit. I don't think we've got either of those things at the minute.
Right.
I think Cunha and Mbeumo, and maybe even Ahmad if you wanted to throw him into that mix because he's another attacker you can mix it up with, are all playing very well. The loss of Dorgu has just been sort of replaced, or that position or that place in the team has been replaced by Cunha in the last game, and I think Cunha's done enough to keep his place. Okay. That's the short and long of it. I don't think after that performance against Fulham, despite how good Sesko was in that cameo, you could go right. I don't think more importantly, Michael Carrick will go right. Cunha, you're out. Sesko, you're in. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Sesko. I agree. The last time we did it wasn't me. It wasn't you. Sorry, it wasn't you. It's me. Was me and James Young, and I said actually for similar reasons you did. Sesko needs a start. I saw that, but now I look at it and I go, I just can't see him dropping Cunha, and I can't see him dropping Mbeumo, and I don't think he'll drop. He don't even like subbing Ahmad really.
No, that's a good point.
I know he's one of those players that just you think he does so many different things that he's kind of, almost too special to drop.
Oh,
you know what I mean? He's not just the attack thing with Ahmad though, is it? He's very good defensive.
Yeah, because his numbers,
the energy as well.
He's not got that many goals and assists this season, but like you said, he's such an important part of the way we play. Yeah, especially out of possession as well. So yeah, I agree.
Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know what you think about mine and Joe's team. Very similar. I've sort of kept the same team as the Fulham game, Joe, with the little tweak there. Let's talk about Spurs.
We sort of talked about them a little bit before.
Yeah, we don't need to labour the point. We'll just say this: the recent results aren't great. They've had some decent ones in Europe. They got that draw against City when they were 2-0 down, which is a good one. Their league form, however, is poor. Yeah. It really is. And they've had some bad results during that time as well. I mentioned earlier the loss, I think it was at home to West Ham, which wasn't that long ago. They've also lost away at Bournemouth. They drew with Burnley, which I think is a poor result as well. The 14th in the league. There's no sugarcoating it. It is bad. Their salvation has been the Champions League, where they have finished 4th in the table. So it's sort of a different story there. They've got players you've got to be wary of. Richarlison on his day, I think he's got 7 Premier League goals, which is very good.
Yeah,
it can
snuck up on you. That
yeah, it's not too shabby. Also, Solanke, who got the brace against City, including that little scorpion piece, which was very, very good. Yeah, Van de Ven always turns up against us. He seems to have a very good record against us in his performances, whether that's sort of running with the ball basically across the entire Old Trafford pitch, or stopping Benjamin Sesko from scoring absolute certainty away
and injuring him as well.
Yeah, and injuring him in the process. Van de Ven's one you've got to keep an eye on. So they've got players you have to sort of acknowledge are very good. It's just that inconsistency is unreal, isn't it?
And in the Premier League, they're just so easy to stop for whatever reason. I think like they've won so few games this season. Like it's just slightly bizarre. Like I don't get why they have struggled again so much. But yeah, we've just got to win. You look this. How many games they won? 7 games. Won 7, drawn 8, lost 9. Like that's terrible. We think we've had a bad season, and we've won 4 more games than they have. Drawn the same, lost 4 fewer. Obviously, like it's just weird that they've stayed this bad in the league and so many teams find ways to stop them winning. I think we have to, like you said, stay on it and don't do this thing where we get a goal and sit back. Get the second goal and get the third goal and then worry about defending.
No, yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah.
Just get at them. They don't like it when you get at them, so let's just do that. It was... I was just reliving trauma of that night in Bilbao against them in the Europa League. It's just, I don't know why I'm thinking about that. Give us your score prediction, my brother.
I'm going to go for a win. I think it will be relatively close, but I'm hopeful we'll continue being clinical. I think the subs off the bench might make the difference. So I'm going to go a couple of late goals to United. I'm going to go 3-1.
Do you know what? I think you're completely right. So I'm going to go 3-0. Yeah.
Nice.
I think there's a clean sheet in this for us.
I'd
Probably eat my words, but why not? I mean, come on, lads. Come on, let's remember what Fergie said. Lads, it's Tottenham. Don't forget to check out the merchandise. There's a link in the description. Don't forget as well to send us your score predictions to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. Film them 30 seconds and we will use that as part of our pre-match build-up. Go and check him out as well on the Sloppy Joes podcast. That's been Joe Smith. I'm Jay Moy. This has been a preview. Manchester United hosting Spurs in the Premier League. Thanks for watching.